Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it is Monday again, and while we've got a pretty interesting, hold on, let's start the music here. We've got a pretty interesting week ahead of us here because we've got CPI and some of the inflation numbers, and also some, well, I'm seeing some people in Discord say there's like a lot of important numbers in other countries as well, but for us, the CPI. Now, the thing with the CPI, I am not too sure that there's going to be any huge surprises in it. We're looking for spot 3 core CPI tomorrow, and we're pretty likely to come right in line with that. So this might be one of those weeks where like things are kind of a little bit on pause until that news comes out, and then they go and they do what they wanted to do anyways. But also we're in a kind of an interesting spot because of where we were left last week. So you can see here in the treasuries, we did see yields rise back up. We're not quite to 4.7 again, so it was only a small change, but we are falling in the treasuries and rising in yields. And then we come over here to the S&P 500, and there was just an absolutely massive rally in the S&P 500 on Friday. So I believe that this was probably due to the options, but this is where I think we're kind of in a little bit of an interesting, if not precarious, situation. So now if we look at some of the other assets, of course, oil took a real beating last week, as did silver and gold and copper. So basically everything is down except for stocks. Oops, wrong one. And then we got over here to Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin it had a little bit of a drop here on the 9th, but they're trying to hold it. There's definitely some big guys over there buying it. I think it's another week until we get into this period where they think that ETF stuff is going to happen, and we'll see if it actually happens and if they dump or not from that. And here's the dollar. The dollar's still looking pretty strong at 105.71. It's kind of funny to think when, everybody wanted to go short the dollar, and then we went up, above 100 and was like, wow, the dollar is so strong, and it just keeps hanging out here. So, all right. So I got a couple of things I got to do here. It looks like the kids, the kids were in here, but it looks like they did a little bit more damage than I realized, and I want to clean that up a little bit. But it looks like the treasuries were kind of selling from the open, but it has reverted back in. So Octavius is stocking a short. Well, I kind of feel like that the flows will be short too, but I'm a little hesitant to, well, I think that if I do take one, that I'm not going to be shooting for the moon, right? Because with CPI tomorrow, I think that some of the action might be a little bit limited. Kind of what I'm thinking from like an overall flow perspective. Yeah, so where did my pen go? Let me find that first. I see. She put them all in this little box. I'm going to try and lock it here. Just in case. I don't see myself using it for the next few days. Maybe the lock doesn't work. When can we see you take... Oh, I don't think that I see myself trading the ES in a long time. Maybe I might swing. Yeah, you know, someday. Hold on, what is Maybe it's broken. That breaks really easily, if that's the case. Oh, maybe it's because it needs to be like this. Ah. There we go. Well, let's see here. Hentak Nibochik. Oh, that's a weird name. What was that? What part of the world are you from? So yeah, it is a chart of the 6E, but you'll notice that I have the top part of it, which is the actual 6E, very, very small. And what I have underneath of it is my synthetic dollar index, which calculates the dollar based on the FX futures. So it's not quite the same as the spot Bitcoin, but it's pretty close and you get the same movements. And, you know, so I watched the dollar as a whole. I also have a chart of the 6J over on my other screen here. 6J. So that's stuff that I pay very close attention to. Oh, geez. Okay, so there's your short. Man. There must be some news that I'm missing here. Hold on. Because the Japanese yen is really moving. I don't know about that one, because that is exactly the kind of movement where I might anticipate the Japanese yen to intervene. Hey, Akshay, how are you today? Haven't seen you in a minute. Or I think we might be getting some news in the Japanese yen, because the yen fell real fast there, and the treasuries got pulled down with it. There was some decent spreads, like market making down in this 08, half 08 area. So like they absorbed it. Oh, you're finally free? That's funny, man. I would have liked to have tried to follow this, right? But right here is in a very good spot. I was way late. Because I wanted my pen here. Well, now the pen works, so that's cool. We're all good on that. One of the issues we got today is there is like New York Fed 1 year inflation expectations has been it's a number that we didn't pay attention to before, but now all of a sudden the market is picking up on it. And that is not until basically when I stopped trading. So it looks to me like the main impulse in the Japanese yen has subsided, but now people like speculators and so forth are still coming in and selling it. And I don't see anything suggesting news to me. I think that there probably is news, but I'm just not seeing it on my board. Maybe because, it's news in Japan and not here. But when that happens, the volatility tends to persist, essentially. Like when the market isn't sure what the news is, the volatility tends to persist. So we should keep that in mind. S&P 500 also dropping here. I bet you would find probably not. Do you actually use that, Lucas? Because I just it did not have that kind of stuff in it. Japan and India reported wholesale inflation earlier below expectations. Too rich for my blood. I'm just telling you. I used it for a month. You do get the Reuters feed. Okay, you do get the Reuters feed. I don't recall there being a news squawk that you could listen to, but you did get the Reuters feed headlines. There's other places you can get that. Yeah, it just didn't have the kind of research that I wanted. Well, they busted through there. There's another 5 ticks in the micros that I could have had if I had not been a pussy. I do see some pushback coming through in the yen, though. Let's see here. Macron calls for a ceasefire on BBC. I think the only solution we have is a ceasefire because it's impossible to explain what we want, that we want to fight terrorism by killing innocent people. You're not the one that's killing innocent people. It's Hamas. Good grief. Now is probably not the best time to talk about the Israeli conflict, right? But I find that incredibly frustrating. Like Hamas goes and makes this strategy that is basically using civilians as human shields, and it's working perfectly for them. Like, how is it that the West can know exactly what they're doing and play into it? Back to your dollar window. How do I get the dollar index into NinjaTrader? It is an indicator that I made. So if you go to speculatorseth.com, I have an indicator package. You can install it for free and use it for 2 weeks. And then after that, you need to have my license, which a lifetime license is just one-time fee of $100. So it's super cheap compared to most NinjaTrader indicators, at least, right? And you of course could try making it yourself, but there's a lot of there's a couple of tiny little tricks and things that you got to know to make an indicator with like 8 data series in it to work. So your mileage might vary. That's why it's a paid indicator. Yeah. Oh, there's actually saying if you know the NinjaTrader language. San, activate San was that. I didn't miss somebody, did I? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell you, you will probably be able to get something that works. But there's some quirks in it. There are some quirks in what you have to do because of how multi-series indicators in NinjaTrader works that took me a long time to figure out. Can you please explain why your broker can't screw you over when trying to withdraw funds as compared to anything like Forex? What are the reasons? Futures are much safer when it comes to this. Well, okay, so first of all, just to be hyper specific here, not that it's a big deal, but with futures trading, you have like your introducing broker and your FCM. Your funds get sent directly to your FCM, your futures commissions merchant. So, it's the FCM that you would have to be worried about screwing you over in that respect. And it's all regulated. So Forex, you got to realize, is basically like there's an interbank currency market and people will, put together a bank so that they have access to that and then trade against you as spreads. So basically they say, here's the best bid and offer on the market and you can trade with us. And so they're the whole market maker, essentially. Okay. Whereas futures, this is like a regulated thing. There's laws. There's the Futures Trading Commission. There's like not a regulatory body, but there's kind of like a trade body to manage disputes and things like that. So in Forex, if somebody takes your money and runs away, they might be in another country. You might have some problems. And I mean, in the United States, there's not really any real Forex brokers right now. Like FCM, I think, was the only major one, and they're gone, right? Whereas if that happened with the futures, there's, they'd get prosecuted, essentially. So. Yeah, futures don't hold your money. The FCM's clearing bank holds some money, and they transfer your balance from the omnibus account to the FCM's in-house account, both for margins and debit credit for the day. That's why they send you a margin statement end of day. There you go. So I've been studying for the Series 3 exam, and one of the things that was reiterated to me, I mean, I guess I knew this before, but it was just not something that I really thought about, was that like there's the initial margin and there's the maintenance margin. So, you need to have like, let's say $2,000 of initial margin, but then the maintenance margin might only be $1,500. But if you want to withdraw funds from your account, you still have to meet the initial margin. So if you only have $2,000 in your account and then you go and you open a position, you can't go and open the position and then take $500 out of your account, right? You still have to meet the maintenance margin. But if that position loses money, you're okay as long as you're above the maintenance margin. So there's that little buffer. I was wondering, what if we go in and on an instrument and we calculate, okay, at what point would the change in the difference between the initial margin and the maintenance margin, Like, how big is that? Or is it always 110%? Wait, is it always 110%? Because basically, what I'm wondering is, normally, yes. Okay. Because I'm wondering, can I go in and calculate, like, what would be that point? What would be that point where somebody that just barely met the initial margin would be forcibly liquidated? And might I find some interesting behavior? But if it's 10%, it would really have to be something that, like, oh, well, no, it was not 10% of the actual instrument, though. I guess it kind of depends on the margin relative to the tick size and all of those sorts of things. But I'm wondering if I can come in and I can say, if we decline by more than 1% in the S&P 500, there would be forced liquidations. You know what I mean? Like, we should be able to calculate that. I have to go and do it and see, is it a small enough number that it would actually be relevant, that it would actually happen, or is the difference between the initial and the maintenance large enough most of the time that wouldn't happen? They increase it to 125% in case the 3-day volatility exceeds the 60-day. Oh. Well, that one's not in my book. In fact, the 10%, I don't think that they have that in the book. They just kind of have the... Kind of curious. I find it kind of curious what is on the Series 3. Honestly, a lot of the stuff that is on the Series 3 kind of seems like BS to me. Oh, it's in the CME's Span Handbook. I get you. The whole liquidation game. Well, so when we're talking about liquidation in cryptocurrencies, that's mostly just people's stops, right? I'm talking about a situation where we're based on the difference between the initial and maintenance margin. If somebody was, used up all of the margin in their account for the initial margin, at what point would they be forcibly liquidated? In cryptocurrencies, what happens is, people have stops set, and there are some people out there with inside information that are like on the exchange. They can literally see this. And yeah, they know, like, where to move it just enough to stop everybody out, which is pretty wild. But we definitely have some instances from these exchanges that have gone kaput and out of business and stuff, of them essentially trading against their customers. Okay, so once you've imported my indicators, when you're adding the indicator, it will show up in its own folder. So let me show you here really quick. So you see how there's the speculator Seth folder, and then it will be in there. Synthetic dollar index candles is probably the one you want. Maybe liquidation of accounts. I guess maybe you're right, Lucas. Maybe they could also see liquidation of accounts. But I don't know. I don't think in cryptocurrency that they have the same idea of like initial and maintenance margin and stuff like that, right? It would just be like, when people are levered up, when are they below zero or something like that, right? But I'm just speculating. I don't know if this would actually be any useful stuff. But a lot of people in the crypto currency world talk about this stuff because there are these. I think it's Bitfinex is the best one, if I recall correctly. But basically, there are ways of showing when it's a position being liquidated. Essentially, they can see like how many people are long and how many people are short. And then you see the move and like the number of shorts goes down or whatever. And so you can see these people getting pushed out of their position in a way that you can't really see with commitment of trader reports and things like that. And so anytime that there's a really big move in crypto, somebody will come up and post a chart to show you how many people just got liquidated. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, yep, they trade against you and it's kind of a sketchy thing. Okay, well, this hasn't really backed off too much. I think that we were looking at 70, 75, right? So it's been one additional basis point since that move. But I would note that the Japanese yen has largely kind of consolidated. The treasury seem a little bit more bearish than the yen right now. And I'm not seeing a super clear direction in the dollar here. Like there was this move right here is very correlated with the yen dropping, but other than that, I don't know what the dollar is doing. So that's kind of like that either the treasuries aren't really actually going to go or they're doing it on their own. Yeah. Well, I think probably the bigger thing to know about the cryptocurrency market on in that respect is that, especially as of late, the crypto market is just so illiquid. And, you know, we've been moving up pretty decently over the past 2 weeks or so, but that could be completely from whales, frankly. Well, I should be on this move, I tell you that, Lucas. I should be on this move, but right now I'm kind of the mind that I missed it. I should have been going on it like, when we were like at 09 or something like that, right? So we were like up here and we were saying, oh, we're stocking you short. Yeah, I kind of want to go for a short too. And then I was like cleaning my room up and stuff like that. And it dropped. And by the time it had dropped, we were already to like the 08 area and it was too late, I feel. So like I maybe I could have gotten it here at 10 and 9, but if I had been watching it and then be trying to let it continue. But the whole thing is that's kind of stopping me is that if I was short right now, I would maybe be looking for an exit. So, and the other side of this is that the way the Japanese yen moved really strongly suggests news to me, but as far as I can tell, there was no news. Look at that. A very aggressive flow right there. I'm seeing the book thicken up a little bit. But that's a very aggressive flow. I find it curious, though, you know, to this discussion that we have a lot about the market makers and stuff like that. I find it curious that the market makers do not seem to be fleeing here despite the very aggressive short flows. The market makers have been taking it, as far as I can tell. Well, okay, 2003 half is not necessarily confidence inspiring. Crypto for people that want to lose and win big. Well, for me, I don't think that cryptocurrency on an intraday basis is very predictable. I think that that's kind of a crapshoot. And I don't really want to have anything to do with the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think that it's ultimately a bad thing for people. There's too much fraud in that space, and I just don't want to be associated with it anymore. I did, some of the channel had been built on cryptocurrency stuff. I could have gone all in on cryptocurrency stuff. I don't know if it would have served me or not, because my understanding is that there was a lot of YouTube creators in the crypto space, and then YouTube kind of throttled them or whatever. But I just don't want to be associated with it. I don't want to be beholden to the cryptocurrency mob, next time that crypto takes off, and my channel was based on that, right? So basically we'll discuss it when people bring it up, but I'm not going to put my money in it, and I'm not going to invest in it. Probably goes up again. I mean, it sure looks to me like Bitcoin is on a bull run. And I think that they're on the bull run because of what they anticipate will happen with ETFs. They think that an ETF is going to get approved. I'm not sure I understand why they're so convinced that there's been a change at the SEC and that it's actually going to happen. But if it does happen, I'm sure that Bitcoin probably will rise a little bit. There will probably be like a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of effect, but then in the long run, they probably go higher as people pile into the ETFs. So I think it probably will lead to a bull run, but I'm not going to be involved in it. So you're saying I have to reinstall seems an old version. That's weird. Because even if you have an old version of NinjaTrader, it should work. Maybe you didn't import it correctly? I don't know. Let's check around here. See if we got... No. Effective Fed's funds rate 5.33 November 10th unchanged. No comments on the outlook from Fed's Cook. Haven't heard anything on my news squawk. So the future of money will get locked up even further than it is currently, and even less of a money function when the ETFs got approved. Got it. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. Well, because of the way that they have limited the blockchain, and believe me, guys, this is entirely intentional, okay? They went and they did this so that they could make more money from mining, and all of the people in the cryptocurrency ecosystem that believed in the original intention of Bitcoin were basically forced out into other coins and marginalized. Entirely intentional, yes. You don't use it. You don't use it now. It is solely a vehicle for speculation. So the only thing that moves Bitcoin is people speculating on the price of Bitcoin moving up or down. That's it. There aren't any fundamental flows that come through Bitcoin based on the need to do business like there is in treasuries and other markets. Well, there's 6-9, so it looks like even if I had missed that other boat, I would still have made money, man. Well, let's see, that's what I said about Bitcoin for the longest time. Well, I would argue that if cryptocurrency is actually used, that is, you can actually buy stuff online with it and so forth, that there would be some flows related to people wanting to buy things online with it, right? Or you could also say that there are some flows related to mining operations. Although I would say that that's mostly like supply and selling that comes into the market, right? man, I don't know. This is like, I think I'm like way too late. But how far is this going to go? Is it very curious? Is it very curious that the treasuries continue to sell, even though, like, this definitely started with the Japanese yen, but now the treasuries are doing it on their own. And one of the issues that I see is that I am starting to see the square root law come in here a little bit. I would say I'm not seeing the low latent liquidity sort of effects as strongly here. Kind of seems like the market makers are still willing to just suck up whatever is being sold. But they're just still pushing. So, you know, it's got to be like the Bank of Japan is coming in here and selling treasuries again. On state change index outside. Oh, okay. So the issue that you might have there is adding it to the wrong chart. So if you try and add it to not a currency, it might do weird things, right? So I would add it to the 6E with an expiration of December. Because if you add it to like the ES, then, well, I guess ES would probably work as well. But if you added it to something that's not on December right now, might do weird things. New 10-year on the run is getting listed Wednesday. Must be something else going on. Because, I mean, like, the version of the indicator that you download will definitely be the latest. And even if you didn't have the latest, the older version wouldn't have a problem with that. Are you sure that you get the FX? Okay, so what happens if you pull up a chart of the 6E? Just the 6E. Are you sure that you actually get all of the data? You think that they might be selling some holdings to make space for the new one, says Akshay? You know, that's a good theory. So, let me ask you this. How do you know that the new OTR gets listed on Wednesday? Is that just from a rule that you know, or is that like published somewhere? Treasury publishes the dates every quarter. Just because, well, and I don't know how much of that would actually move them or not. Oh, you're saying that's the settlement date? That happens on the settlement date? That basically, after the auction's settlement date, that's when the futures will start to include it? See, actually teaches us something new every time. He should just run the stream. I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm trying to think of some way that I could potentially quantify how much of an impact that would actually have. And the issue that I have is that, you know, the treasury should still be affected primarily by the on the run. So I don't know if other treasuries out there possibly becoming available for delivery would necessarily change the on-the-run treasuries or not. But you say they have to make space for the new supply. I'm just wondering, so if that's the case, we should be able to say, like when we look at flows, that there is some amount of selling in the 10-year treasury proportional to the size of the auction, right? Yeah, maybe for cheapest to deliver. So one of the things that I've been trying to keep an eye on here, and I think we're quite a ways away from it at the moment, but we were getting awfully close back when we were at 5%, is there was a possibility that the cheapest to deliver would change on them. And then they would have to all hedge themselves more to account for the change in the cheapest to delivery. And that was really kind of looking like a scary scenario there for a while. Now, maybe before December we get back there. You know, that could be kind of wild. I kind of feel like, well, I don't know. Do you think so in a situation where the basis trade blows up, is that more or less likely to happen at the end of a contract? I'm thinking it would be less likely, just because they know that it's basically going to settle at the same at the end of the the delivery or whatever. So they have less time that they have to hedge themselves against, but it could still happen. It could still happen if, their margin gets screwed and everything. But I think that they would be more likely to dump a position and get screwed over like that towards the beginning of the contract. Just hypothecating. Theorizing. There we go. I'm just theorizing. Just let me have my dream of seeing UB trade at par. Well, that could happen too. That's a good point, Octavius. You're right. So it wouldn't necessarily be how much was at auction, but how much dealer takedown was at auction. That's good. That's good right there. Although I'm still stuck at, I'm late to the trade and can I actually sell it here, right? Because I was going to sell it anyways. I mean, even without all of that, I kind of suspected that the treasuries were going to continue to be on a sell. I was not prepared. It was stupid. I was cleaning my desk. I still have a little spot where I think a child like drooled or something that I want to clean off. Okay, but this begs another question though. How sure are we that this flow is that? Like, it's a very good theory. Don't get me wrong. It's a very, very good theory. But something going on in the Japanese yen, or that is also a good theory, because the Japanese yen did kind of start this move out by dropping. And I don't see any piece of information out there that would allow me to rule out either of those two reasons as the driver behind this particular flow. Almost a complete whole 1%. Oh, are you still talking about the cheapest to deliver changing? So my understanding of it, you're saying something about they adjust the applied coupon for the contracts for the far quarter. Okay, so you're talking about something that I don't think I understand. Oh, almost a complete whole 1%. How sure I am that it's one of those two theories. Oh, yeah, sure. So are you saying that when you do a basis trade like that, that you are doing it in multiple months? You're doing it on the front month, but you're also doing it on 1 month back. And so if something happens that the cheapest to deliver changes, you can potentially adjust it by doing things in the back month instead. That could be. But either way, the thing that I'm concerned about is you're in a situation where the treasuries are already selling pretty hard. I mean, for us to get back to 5%, I think the treasuries would be selling pretty hard. And I think that you would see a lot of pressure on the treasury market, right? And then all of the people that are hedging the basis trade also have to sell to adjust for the cheapest to deliver changing, because that will basically just mean they'll have to sell a few more treasuries to make sure that they're completely hedged. Like, that would just make a really, really wild situation that much worse. Kind of seems to me like we're far enough away that it's very unlikely to happen, but it was definitely a possibility. You know, if we hadn't had this rally the past like 2 weeks, then maybe we would be experiencing that right now, you know? Lot is traded at 04, by the way. Also, I think if it was like a move in the Japanese yen and the Japanese were going to come in and intervene, I think it would have already happened. There's still a lot trading there to 04 too, by the way. So dude, this whole thing, I'm just kind of monitoring Twitter, and I'm getting a lot of stuff come through on Twitter about the battle at Al Shifa Hospital or whatever. And I'm just, this is like going to be a real battle. It's going to be a real mess in the news headlines and everything for next week or two. Trading uncertainty sure is risky. Yeah. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to go and get a washcloth so that I can wash this little spit stain off. Okay, that's better. I think that with everything that's going on in the treasuries, just that auction on Thursday going so bad has me extremely bearish for the treasuries and interest rates as a whole going into the end of the year. You getting married? Wow, how did that happen so quick? When we were talked like at the beginning of the summer, you were acting like you were going to be forever alone. Got too rich and couldn't keep them off you, huh? Oh, man. It happened. Well, I'm super happy for you. I notice people repeat the same things when they're nervous. That might be. I might do that. I don't know. When I get nervous, I think you'll find me like turn inward a lot more, right? I start to talk about how I'm feeling and stuff like that. I love how actually it's just like, it happened. Well, see, because the problem then is if you start having kids, that I'm finding that kids are a bit of a distraction, you know? Yeah, if you have a photo, you can show me. If you want, you can just message it to me on Discord if you don't want to put it here in chat. Ooh, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, check on something here. Got some good ideas over here. Oh, you'll mail it to me? You just speculatorseth@protonmail.com. There was a little bit of a pullback there, but they seem to be like really stuck in a hole now. I don't know if I'm really seeing the low latent liquidity. I guess I haven't been paying very good attention, but it looks like it's kind of there at 03.5. Okay, let's see if I can see it. Ooh. Get a year of Proton Unlimited for $8.69 a month. Speculatorseth at protonmail.com. When I refresh, I'm not seeing anything yet, but it might just take a little bit. Let's wait like a minute. In the meantime, You know, another flow that we could potentially be seeing is just hedging ahead of CPI, right? That looks right to me. Speculators at protonmail.com. Yeah. They're probably just slow. Well, I'm at it. What's going on here? ATAS is doing a Black Friday sale. To the first 3,000 customers. Well, that's a lot. But it doesn't tell us what the discount is. I guess we don't get to know until Black Friday actually happens. I'm kind of sensing this is a spot where I would like be really tempted to try and go long on this retracing, but I don't see any reason for the flows to retrace much. Like, if anything, the 10-year just continues to sell. Probably it's too early for them to go for another leg. But I don't think that there was a news catalyst, Brando. The way that it started really strongly suggested that there was, but I never saw anything come through. Still not seeing it. You're invited to the Crypto Classic, cryptocurrency futures and options trading with the CME. Sellers are definitely, yeah, well, I don't like to use the phrase like sellers are in control or what, you know, let's say there are definitely some big aggressive sellers today, right? Because the whole thing is like, you're selling it and you're done. You've sold everything that you need to sell. Are you really in control anymore? I mean, some people have like managing a position and some people don't. Like if it's dealers selling some because they ended up taking too much into auction, then I don't think that they're necessarily in control. They're just selling what they need to, and then that's that. There we go. Actually, his email came. Oh, yes. Oh, dude, you look so. What is this where you're like, oh, I'm so... no, well, I don't remember you saying that you were ugly, but I remember you being like, nah, girls don't like me. I think you look pretty good in that picture. You got the hair. Maybe it's just because you have hair and I don't, and I'm jealous of your hair. Is it okay to show that on the screen? And Treasury's kind of pressing. Yeah, sure. I'll show you guys. Come on. Come over here. There you go. I don't know. Treasuries look awfully heavy here, man. But I think if things, you know, like a really strong impulse sell here at this spot would be a little suspicious. Ugly, you crazy. I know, right? He was totally playing us this whole time. This whole time he's been like drop dead gorgeous, rich, can't keep the girls off him, and he was just playing coy. Yeah, blonde hair is nice, isn't it? I know, I think that, well, because I've always thought of myself as blonde, I think that when you think, you know, you go for girls that are like similar to you, even in hair color maybe, but I never found a blonde that I really jived with. Nah, I was forever alone for almost 9. Well, it's not that bad. It'd be worse. I mean, a lot of it is just the dating dynamics and everything out there right now aren't very good, right? So do you have a date for when you're gonna get married? Because I know sometimes I've met some people, like, they're engaged, but then they're engaged for like 5 years before it happens, and I'm like, here in Utah, if you get engaged, you know, they try and set it as soon as possible, right? Because they don't want you to lose control of yourself, basically. Get the extended one. Oh, wait, is she a paramedic? Oh, that's interesting. That's a stressful job, man. Paramedic is a stressful job. I find it really weird how you could have a job like a paramedic that requires a lot of education, is very, very stressful, and not a lot of people want to do, but they still don't get paid very much. I guess it doesn't require a lot of education, but it's not an unskilled job, let's say. But they don't get paid very... I've heard in some areas where they have like real problems getting paramedics and stuff. So that means, but like the reason why I think I kind of key in on that is because like one of the things that I think really matters is like when the going gets tough, are they the kind of girl that will continue to work with you and dig out? Or will they just go and find greener pastures? Because that is definitely a thing that happens in modern society. And you want to find somebody that you know has grit, I guess is what you would say. Somebody that has grit that will stick with you. And I'd say that if they're a paramedic, then they definitely have some grit, right? Yes, cumulative delta is absorbing cell on ZN, but now they aren't getting anywhere for their effort, which signals to me that the buyers are absorbing. Yeah, so if I can, I'll pull that back out later. So we have a really massive liquidity hole at 04, which means that they're going to be really easy for them to trade across 04. But then once you start getting below that, you're going to run into more liquidity again. So you are right that they're starting to sell again, and they're running into the hole. And so what I kind of see happening right now is that there is a liquidity hole. There could be a second leg coming. It's probably just a little bit too early for that second leg, but it seems that for now they don't really care and they're just going. And I do see the Japanese yen starting to push again. So I'm not so much suspicious now as I am just weary that, you know, that will fizzle out a little quickly. But if it goes, it could go, right? But if it goes right now, I'd say that we're kind of in like a really let's not say unhinged, but a bit of a dramatic market, right? That they're just scrambling over each other to try and sell it, which is is a little concerning. Can you imagine with the amount of with the kind of selling that we've had today, and then CPI comes out tomorrow and it's bad, like it's higher than anticipated? That would really screw up this market, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's going to be a big issue. Well, I don't even think that it has to come in way above. Like, if core CPI comes in as spot 4, I think that's, I would be absolutely shocked if it came in higher than that. Okay, if it came in line, I think that they'll probably brush it off. Although that might depend on the crosstabs. But if they were 0.4, and I think it's highly unlikely to get higher than that. But of course, CPI was 0.4. Yeah, this market would be very unhappy. Okay, so O2 half 2,500 to clear it. That is not enough. It's curious. The S&P 500 is selling here. I'm not seeing much of a shift in the yield curve either, by the way. So they took it off at O2 half. They have a decent offer at O2 half, but so far you haven't seen very many contracts selling into O2. You did see the 30-year, though, kind of was probably a stop run because they pushed significantly lower on that move. And yeah, when I see the deltas in the 30-year, like the 30-year is selling really hard. Now, if the flow that we were seeing today was because of dealers having to hedge themselves and so forth from taking so much at the auction, why would the 30-year be moving so aggressively or selling so aggressively? Like I said, I'm not seeing the yield curve move a whole lot yet. There is a hint, though, that we're getting steepening coming in again, which would reflect again, much like we had in October, a rise in interest rates that mostly gets attributed to term premium. Now, it looks like we're going to see 4.7 here. Yeah. Oh, nope. Nope. It hasn't traded yet. Okay, there's 4.7. Now I feel like we're a little bit more in the time frame where I would expect a second leg to come. I guess it just came in early. My lips are really chapped this morning. I apologize. But I don't know if I really should still try and jump on it here. I don't know. I think 107 even is probably fairly likely to trade. And like, look, even though there's iceberging at 0.5, they're really hitting into that one. and tomorrow it turns out today's whole action was just people going risk off for tomorrow's print would be hilarious. I think so, yeah. I think that's a really strong possibility. Like really, it's like we've got 3 relatively major flows kind of on our board here, and we're not sure which of those this particular one is, but obviously that suggests that you should be selling it, right? And yes, if they were all just going risk off and then it comes out in line with expectations, like you probably should see a decent rally in treasuries as those come off, right? Okay, so 3,700 traded into 0.5. They were not able to break it, and 1,000 contracts just lifted it at 0.2. So there may be some counterflow coming in here. Okay, and again at 0.2 half, but only 1,000 contracts, and they don't hold it. So some signs of counterflow, not enough for me to want to go along with it, especially with the trend being so aggressively short. But this could be a good chance for a reversal back to 0.4 at the very least. You know, I'm thinking that it probably is people preparing for the CPI print tomorrow and not the other options, because, and the reason I'm going to guess that is because it's a Monday. Like, usually you don't execute really big trades on Monday. It's usually very quiet on a Monday. So to see them coming out and being pretty trendy on a Monday strongly suggests to me that they're like really concerned and they just need to get this done as quickly as possible, or that they're hedging for something tomorrow, which would be the CPI. Let me read this story real quick. House Speaker Johnson proposed the same plan as McCarthy. There are likely big surprises elsewhere, but this is no surprise in this corner regarding Johnson's plan to keep the government running. House Speaker unveiled a 2-step short-term spending proposal that would keep money flowing to federal agencies into next year in a bid to stave off a partial government shutdown late next week. Johnson presented the plan on Saturday, a week before federal agencies risk shutting down once concurrent funding runs out. The measure wouldn't impose spending cuts, and it also wouldn't implement tougher anti-immigration rules at the U.S.-Mexico border, which some Republicans said was critical to getting their support. According to the document obtained by the Wall Street Journal, if the 2-step plan doesn't pass, the House Republicans will turn to what they call a full-year continuing resolution, keeping spending flat, although it would contain appropriate adjustments to meet our national security priorities. I believe if buyers start hitting super aggressive into the ask, we should start squeezing out all those shorts. Potentially. So the last 2 ticks, it's only been 1,000 contracts. But I would anticipate that it would be super weak between here and 0.4. And that's kind of the issue, is like, okay, so we had to move down like this, right? And then we had a little bit of a move and it came back. Or it's starting to come back. No, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, actually, I'll talk to you tomorrow. So it's come back a little bit. So this area right here has not had a whole lot of time to recover, but this area right here has. So would probably could snap back to 04, but then it would be a little harder for them to push beyond that. So that's where we would be coming over here and watching what do the market makers and the liquidity start to do in this kind of location. And of course, if we get really aggressive buying, they can still push it up further. But at the moment right now, all other things being equal, there's kind of a good chance that they just snap back to 04. Like, they would need to continue seeing strong selling to push down to 107 even. And right now, I'm not really seeing that. Like, what I'm seeing right now is the flow is mostly stopped, and we're starting to see a little bit of flow long. So I think that your upside is capped a little bit, but that the most likely thing is that we come back to 04. ZN is, or CL is being irrational right now. Well, they're moving up though. I don't know. Why is a buy in oil irrational? I kind of felt like the selling was irrational, but it's not irrational. I think there's some real dynamics going on there. Maybe now is the time to buy the oil stocks. I'm a little concerned about putting more money on the table in stocks with like interest rates so high and everything. Like, the effects of monetary policy are lagged and all of these sorts of things. Like, my traditional macroeconomic learnings suggests to me that we should have a recession next year, or at least weak growth, let's say. TLT pegged to 87. So do you think that the TLT matters still? Well, I guess because we have the monthly expiration, that the TLT price still matters. But I don't know what price or what position they would be pegged to for this expiration. Maybe we can find something that shows us the open interest by price to see which price level in the options they care the most about. Which strike has the most open interest for the expiring contract? Oh, actually, I think I can see that. Hold on. They ticked back down at 02. And the 0.5 just evaporated. Okay, so I just heard something about a gilt sell. So that's another one. Oh, you know what? Every time that happens, we'll see selling and like it surprises us. So what is this from Nick Timmerow? So, toxic work environment at the FDIC, one of the nation's top banking regulators, has for years caused employees to flee from an agency they say enabled and failed to punish bad behavior. And there's lots of reporting to back this one up. Supervisors invited employees to strip clubs. The supervisor had sex with his employees and said he wanted to reassign her. Bank examiners sent women dick pics. Oh, this is terrible. Inside the toxic work environment at the FDIC that for years has caused women to leave the agency. Yeah. Now maybe we're going to see 107? I don't know. There you go. Imagine being that kind of dirtbag. I don't know, man. They're out there. There's lots of them. I can't. Oh. Okay. So a pretty aggressive sell came through there at 107 even, but the market makers ate all of it. So we still kind of have some weak liquidity above us, although there's a big stack there at 04. we'll see what they do with what just happened there. That might kind of that might mean that we rotate around 107 even for a while. You're still suspicious. Where are we with the meta order time? But yeah, so that's a good question. Because I was reading it as, oh my gosh, it's sometimes when I pull this chart up, it does like, it goes behind the taskbar. I hate that. So I can't really show you the timing of it very well. But this was about 7 o'clock. This was about the top of the hour when we came into this liquidity hole right here. And then this was about 7:30. So it was a little early, but you know, I think that you can kind of judge it's like 45 minutes, give or take 15. So meta order came in early, but I would definitely say that this was another leg of meta order, except for that they ran into a big wall at 107, right? Like they shoved into that at 107 very aggressively and it held. So that probably causes it to bounce at least for a little bit. In other words, second leg may already be done. Now the counter argument to all of this is that the market is becoming unhinged. In which case they could continue to just sell in a disorganized fashion. Frankly, if we get to that point, then we're probably in, this is going to be a trend day territory, right? But looking at these last few ticks and the liquidity that's sitting under us on the bid, I'm kind of betting that it's over. I don't think that I want to reverse it because the upside is very limited to that kind of a trade, but I think that we're gonna retrace a bit of this now. Really sucks. I mean, I really missed a good opportunity here today again, didn't I? And I've done that a lot. It's like they're watching me and they're like, they wait for me to look away and then they go and they do it. That always happens to me. Yeah, well, sometimes these moves in the treasuries happen kind of quick. Like the thing is like if a tick matters, it doesn't take very long for it to move a tick, right? I think if I really, you know what, I will just to kind of show and or practice and test this. But let's see what I was able to get an okay spot in the line at 01. A little bit of iceberging at 01.5. No, not a hero trade. I'm just going for a tick. That's why I only put one lot on it instead of like 3. Because 3 is like I want to take a few off first and then let that last 1 or 2 ride. But I don't really think that this is going to ride. I merely see, I don't like that, merely see an opportunity for me to maybe get a good fill here between 01 and 01.5. because I can kind of see the bids holding, but I had a spot to get a good position in the queue. And this whole area should be pretty strained liquidity, so I should be able to get in and out real quick. At the moment, though, it's kind of looking like I'm not going to get filled on that. Too good of a trade, apparently. You're going to go to the bathroom and then you'll get your move. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I forgot what I was doing because we were going to look up strike prices for TLT. Options. And it's still looking like they're not going to fill that. So it was too good of a trade. Okay, so we want only December 17th. Oh, you put it in Discord? It looks like it's at 88. This is what you've got. Well, let me see here. It's for calls. Ah. So for me, oh, look, did get filled. For me, on Fidelity, yeah, I can show you this. I'm looking at just at November 17th, and there's a lot of, 89, 88, 87, but 86 seems to be the biggest. Now let me come back out here and have it show all strikes, just to make sure. Hey, there we go. I did get the one tick, and it never ticked through me, so that was a good trade. I really liked that one. I'm just double checking to make sure that there isn't somewhere in the calls that's like really. Oh, so 90 is actually seems to be the biggest spot. They're betting at 90. That's interesting. Oh, wow. Wait, what? Oh, well, I guess the further out you are, the less that large open interest matters. Oh, that's very interesting. But 90 kind of becomes an interesting spot if we were to get there in 86. Yeah. 90 and 86. Yeah, now you've got it. You kind of zoomed in on there. You're showing the same thing that I am. 80 and 96. And we're at like 88 right now. Now the thing is they bought it at 90s at 86, but probably their break even is a little bit above that, so. Oh, and we were as high as 90 a few days ago, were we, huh? I'd say relative to the volatility that we've had, that's a pretty tight range. But all we got is CPI tomorrow. So if it doesn't work out for them tomorrow, I bet you that I bet you that a lot of premium come off of those after tomorrow, right? But it does kind of suggest a buy, I think. Like, flow-wise, I think the more interesting trade is... Well, no, I shouldn't say the more interesting trade. But I think that my base scenario is that it comes in line and that the treasuries have a little bit of a rally. But if that number's bad... Okay, so that was some aggressive up moves. So now the Japanese yen is... Oh, okay. Something's going on here. The Japanese yen is skyrocketing. Holy crap. That... I still haven't heard anything from my news squawk this morning. At least on the treasuries. But there's definitely something happening in the Japanese yen. Let's see here. On Euro USD, a break of 4.5 in the US 10-year may be the key signal to look for a break above 1.08 in the Euro, says Société Générale, who is a key analyst in France. Okay, the yen is still pushing. There it goes. New highs. Oh, it is going. It is going. And are we going to drag the 30-year here? 30 years still kind of holding back at 16, but if we reach 16, we might see them get dragged a little bit further. This is definitely central bank intervention. So here's 04. We'll see how the treasuries react to 04. I think that we should still see a decent amount of liquidity holding on that offer. Big iceberg bid at 03. They clear it. Goes offer. Yeah, that move in the yen like easily breached the highs. So I'm actually a little surprised that the treasuries are not moving more. Okay, so back and forth at 0.2 half now. You still have this thing over here in the 30-year where it's like the upside seems to be capped. They don't want to go above 16 for whatever reason. The yen seems to still be pushing, though. They let it come back, but it's still pushing. I don't know. Kind of either way. I think that the yen will probably continue to drag us up. Okay. So my news squawk is saying yen rises on theory that Japan intervenes or something like that. They're basically saying traders are think that the Japanese yen is having some intervention right now. I just should point out, I think that the yen will continue to drag us in the treasury, but the treasury is not moving nearly as aggressively as it has last time that we saw yen intervention like this. So it seems to me that that correlation has weakened a little bit, which is very, very curious. It's a very interesting change. Now, maybe they catch up a little bit later. We'll see. You know, let's not make too big of a conclusion yet, but we're definitely seeing some long flows having come into the treasuries for a while. I think I should be able to get a little bit more out of this than I thought I would get today. But we got that 16 in ZB to contend with and that 04 in ZN to contend with first before we get anything too crazy, right? Oh, you got 01. Well, that's not bad. Yeah, see, Financial Juice, the headline is Yen pairs losses on speculation Japan intervenes to slow weakness. That's a weird way of putting that headline. But maybe the yen are responsible for putting that out there. I just show you a chart of the yen over here. They're extending further, and this is well above the highs of the day. Right? Well above the highs of the day, so they're really coming in strong. You can see the dollar getting hammered pretty good here. That could support equities a little bit, maybe. Okay, that looks like a little bit better of a bid in ZB at 16. Gonna reset right there. Okay, and there's 17 even going briefly. There you go. That's good. That's good. Okay, so they're able to clear that hurdle. Now we get the 04 hurdle. You can see that those orders at 04 are not really pulling away much, if at all. Oh, there we go. There we go. As soon as they got hit, they pulled. Okay, so that's really, really good for our position that we thought that there would be a roadblock at 04 and some liquidity, but the market maker jumped out of the way there and decided not to take it. Oops, sorry, I should have this other screen up. I apologize. Okay, it went back offer, but like that time again, they were able to take it bid with only 900 contracts. So overall, this is a very positive thing for our position. Doesn't mean for sure that we're going to continue further up in here, but that's a tea leaf. That's like a key spot that I thought there would be some liquidity, and it wasn't really there. Which means, you know, if we continue to get that we could push up quite a bit further. And the ZB is, by the way, is starting to get stop run sort of behavior. Like it's starting to catch up and shoot up there pretty hard. So hey, Jiwi, how are you doing? I like having the beard, especially when I go outside and it's cold and everything. But I just want to play with it all day. It's very, very distracting. Very, very distracting. Okay, so I'm noticing that the offer at 26.5 in the 5-year is looking really vulnerable, and they weren't really hitting it. Right there, it's 241. Okay, they hit it. Let's see it absorbed. So it's actually luring there. And there's the 30-year took another step. Let's recenter. Well, in the treasuries themselves, we have a pretty gentle rise in cumulative delta, but it's very, very gentle. And this has kind of been more like a slow moving freight train than it has been like a limit up move sort of a move thing like I would have expected with, you know, Japanese yen intervention coming in. But slow moving train, those tend to be some of the most reliable trends. So it's not necessarily bad. Okay, they're hitting into 04.5 and running into some iceberging. So we continue to see like our bids are stacking and our offers are pulling. So those are both kind of suggestive of further uptrend. But it is moderating a little bit here at 04.5. So didn't like that. that take right there was pretty not advantageous. So that one was the yen turned down a little bit and the treasuries went ticked down with it, even though I don't really feel like that. Yeah, that's just probably their standard pullback over there. But overall, a pretty negative sign just because they should be able to hold those prices a lot more easily than that, right? So I guess so I think I missed an opportunity to get out there, so I'm just going to kind of wait a little bit. Kind of looks like the ZB kind of slipped back there because it had moved through that so quickly, and now they're kind of turning back up again, so... The yen is moderating. It's not moving as quickly as it did. Well, I think it's a little bit too early to speak here, but I'm a little concerned by what I see as a muted market reaction to yen intervention. That it seems like the yen is just not, that the market just is kind of shrugging them off. And if the Japanese yen, if the market kind of starts to take control from their intervention, that could be a pretty negative thing long term. But the treasuries are pushing back up here. 05 was the high from before. I guess I should kind of clear this so that you can kind of see. 05 was the high before, so we'll see if they pierce that high and continue moving up in the treasuries or not. You're in the hospital again? I'm sorry, Jiwi. That was probably, I remember when my ex-wife's mom was dying and they basically spent all their time in the hospital, and that was really rough and not fun. And that probably wasn't very nice about it, but it was kind of like, you need to do other things too. But yeah, that was rough. Okay. I kind of feel like everybody in the treasuries is on the edge of their seats right now, because like every little change is eliciting reactions in the DOM. So I'm just thinking about the yield curve right now. You know, I keep thinking that maybe we're going to get some steepening out of this move, but it doesn't really happen. But what I am seeing is that the 30-year is kind of whipping around. So not clear steepening flow, but the 30-year is kind of whipping around, which in some of these instances have maybe helped us. Okay, the cumulative change in cumulative delta in ZN has really evened out here. So it kind of feels to me like the yen waited for everybody in the treasuries to be really committed before they started to do it. So they're probably trying to stop people out in the treasuries too, but that doesn't really seem to be happening to me. I could be wrong, but I guess there was definitely some shorts that got stopped out in ZB, but overall I'm not really seeing a whole lot of signs of like short covering kind of behavior. But I suppose that suggests that the people that were selling earlier weren't selling just on speculation. Okay, well, there's finally 20 for me. It's not quite going yet, though. I don't think that I would have gotten filled there. One contract. Got about 40 minutes still. Okay. So they tried to take 05, but it didn't hold. It's a little better. Seems like there's a little bit of iceberging in the offer on the 5-year, and that might be... there you go. That's a much stronger uptick, and that time the 5-year went up with it, so the market makers were more confident in holding it. So, like what we were saying earlier, you know, it should be relatively easy for them to come back up to the 04 area. I guess it actually ended up being at 05. The liquidity up here should be more normalized. So we'll see. I think that because this is largely being driven by yen intervention, that, you know, you're going to see correlations kind of take charge. Except for that the yen isn't moving anymore, so. Let's see, the 30-year didn't quite make a new high there. They're still right on the edge of their seats. Well, not. What's the illusion, allegory, whatever I want to use here? Okay, there's trading 24. It's standing on the edge. Let's put it that way. They're standing on the edge, and it looks like, hey, there's a bid at 24. Not bad. Now there's also this 25, 26 area. Once you get above that, then maybe you'd really start to see some covering in the treasuries in the 30-year, but when I look at the offers in the 10-year, though, that still kind of looks like a pretty big mountain decline. Okay. Ooh, okay. Strong stack at 05 half. ZB crushing through some of those other kind of key points, benchmarks that we were looking at. Micros yields kind of moved to not too much. But it was a strong stack on the uptick. It's not there anymore, but there was a big 3K that showed up there briefly. Now there's a big stack at 04. Okay, so they're running into an iceberg at 06 half. But they very easily clear that. Okay, that's... You think the unwinding is beginning? That looked a little like more like stop run behavior, didn't it? Seeing a big iceberg like that, though, can kind of cause things to pause a little bit. Big MBO bid of, oh yes. After we cleared 5 half, that showed up, yes. Still, there was a big iceberg at 06 half is kind of the thing that I'm paying attention to at the moment, is watching to see if they try and clear it again, what they do. Yeah. It's kind of what I thought. And make another attempt. Okay, I took my profits right there. So I'm seeing iceberg there in that location, and I've seen it it came back down, and then on 3 occasions it iceberged even after having traded it, which says to me that we're building a liquidity hole around 06 half area, and I'm a little bit concerned that, you know, this is sputtering out. Like, I'm not seeing the yen continuing to push. In fact, the yen is starting to claw back in a little bit now. And so there may be it may just be a short pullback and then they push up again further. But I kind of think, hey, I really wanted 30. But I pulled 27 out of it, 26 if you know, count the commission. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good trade. And I'm proud that, you know, because I missed that downside. I guess the downside was a bigger trade, wasn't it? But I'm super stoked that we had a big yen intervention move here. And I was able to get on it early and catch so much of it, you know? Basically, I detected that was happening before the treasuries really realized what was going on. So, yeah, best case scenario is we should hope to see buyers coming strong and claiming the 04 area. Yeah, like that's exactly. I'm concerned that they might revert back to 04 again. Let's see, because like, look, they're still kind of pushing, so they may have just scared me out like way early, and I'll be super pissed. But I can't be mad about 26. That's a pretty good win. And I think it's a 3-trade win streak too. Actually, if you count those ones that were accidentally sim trades, it's like a 5-trade win streak. Is it? No, I actually might not actually be that. I think that I might have taken some losses in between there. Let me see. Let's go back to last week. 1, 2. Then there was a loser. And then there's one. Oh, okay. I think to catch those other ones that I'm thinking about, I have to go back further. And let me filter it. Count begins with number. Oh, okay. It's actually pretty mixed. So where was it that because in October there was some areas that were really bad. Yeah, there was. So it was around here, that day was the day that was bad. And 20. Yeah, that's still pretty good. That's still a pretty good streak there. Oh, you know what? This is not sorting by time. That's funny. I hate it when that happens. There we go. That's better. No, that's not better. See how it goes 11, 1, 11, 1, 11, 10, 11, 13, 11, 7, 8, 9. So it's sorting it alphabetically instead of by number. I think that's been a problem that in there before, and they either haven't fixed it or like it came back. No. I think that what we just saw there, Barth, was the Japanese yen. So in the overnight action, there was comments from the central bank saying, you know, we'll continue to monitor the currency and we'll intervene when, you know, we think that there's unstable market movement that's not justified by the fundamentals, essentially. So this is a really interesting track, because if we come in and we talk about, you know, a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this channel about market efficiency and things like that, and we accept the fact that the market is not perfectly efficient, the Japanese authorities are basically saying, well, because we know the market isn't perfectly efficient, we are going to come in and intervene when we know that the movement that we're having is not in line with the fundamentals. Essentially is what they're saying, right? Well, so they talked about it overnight. Then today we got a really strong sell in the treasuries, and it started with a sell in the yen. So I wonder, was that something that somebody did to, that the Japanese central bank did to kind of set this up, or was it something else? Because I think that the treasuries today had a lot of reasons to sell, and it could be that the treasuries are selling and that was hurting the yen because that, not vice versa, right? But then eventually they did come in, and I wouldn't say, of course I knew that it was a possibility, because when we saw that first strong move down in the yen, I remember saying, well, you got to be careful about that, because if you really get unjustified volatility, there doesn't appear to be any news. That's exactly the kind of situation that Japan has said that they would step in, right? They waited, but they did come in, and I wouldn't say that I was sitting there waiting for it, but I knew it was a possibility, and it happened really slow, so I had plenty of opportunity to get in. And so far, I mean, they've tested it a little bit, and we haven't come off of this yet, but so far my exit is looking pretty good. Because what I want to see, if I come back over here to the chart and make my treasury chart really big, what I want to see is this sort of a thing, right? So it may do this for a while and then eventually move up, but I don't necessarily care as much. I mean, sometimes I will hold it through all of that and let it continue if I have a really strong reason to think so. But in this case, if it's just Japanese yen intervention, why would they have stopped by now? They would probably keep pushing it. So I think that this is a good opportunity for me to get out. So, and I saw it quite early, because it was literally like, there was that little spike up. You see that right there? And then it came back. That's where I got out. So I actually got a really good exit. As I did on, was it Friday that we took the other trade? So I'm feeling pretty good about my trading the past few days. Now, I still say that was a pretty wild intervention in the Japanese yen, and the treasuries did not move as much. So I do not believe that bodes well for interest rates. Let's put that on Twitter. Well, how much time do we got? 20 minutes left? That's cool. Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Looks like another yen intervention, but treasury's reaction Ugh. I hate it when social media platforms start trying to recommend posts to me and crap like that. Like, okay. I don't need it in my notifications, right? You're supposed to recommend stuff. That's what the whole feed is for. Once you start putting it into my notifications, you just seem desperate to me. You know, I should check here. Do we have anything going on? There's 04, so now we're definitely looking. Like, look, that would have been $10 essentially. So I got 27, I'd be getting 17 now. Cool. Tomorrow, remind me, I have a meeting at 8, so I have to end early. That just reminds me about how on Friday, we moved quite a bit after the stream ended. And I was like, had waited the whole stream for a move, and then they did end up dropping quite a bit after I left. Yeah, that was really frustrating to watch. I mean, that happens so often to me, but gosh. Only 14% of U.S. voters say Joe Biden has made them better off. You know, it is really interesting to me to see all of this play out in the news media and everything, where it, like, Joe Biden and some people in the media are like, oh, like, the economy is going good, everybody should be happy. And then everybody is like, no, it's not actually. I think that a lot of the numbers that you're getting are very deceptive. Yeah, things aren't going very well for most Americans, but mostly because of the inflation. Like, all of this other stuff kind of ends up not meaning anything when you're getting heavy inflation. A little bit of another push here in the treasuries. Maybe they'll make it higher. I still kind of think that they're probably going to settle in here somewhere, though. Oh my gosh, here's a inflammatory headline for you. Megan Rapinoe of the U.S. soccer team says championship injury is proof there isn't a God. Because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of conservative people out there saying that is definitive proof that there is a God. I'm just, man. Such a childish view of Christian theology that man, that's going to piss people off. This is going to make some people mad. Okay, they tried to take 06, but it's held a pretty strong offer there. They take 05 half again. Nobody's free 05 yet, but there you go. Yeah, that might. It's gonna very quick. I think that may look like a lower high here really quickly, but let's see. So got 15 minutes maybe they do push up higher here in the next 15 minutes. You know, it's funny because as much as that came back there, we could have gotten back in and made another 10 points. Not that I would have done so. Not that I identified that as a trade or anything, but it did move 10 ticks, which I find it was a pretty good pullback, right? I suppose if we do decide to go for new highs, though, it could get interesting here. Let's see. So sometimes in a situation like for intervention, I would expect to make more than $30. I would expect to make more like $40 or $50. And to have only taken 26, it was kind of like a little disappointing. So that means that I can't rule out the possibility that they push up higher, even though it does very much appear to me that they're building a hole and that it'll be very hard for them to get very far from 06. Okay, I'm hearing some news about the Bank of Italy. I am seeing maybe the yen rising here a little bit. Bail bond backed securities, that would be an interesting one. I don't think that would work very well as a security. Yeah, that would be very distasteful nature of investing in such an instrument. May keep major financial institutions away from it. Yeah, totally. Totally. It's still struggling to hold it there. Ooh. I'm leaning towards still that it's not going to break a new high, but they're impressing me so far with the flow in here. Well, let's not say the flow, but they're holding prices up pretty good. I would say flow-wise, it's actually kind of net selling, if not, well, kind of, let's say middling, if not outright selling. The MBL pulled at 04. I would, it kind of is like your classic trap when you say it's like, it didn't go as far as it should have. There's a second wind, it catches second wind, it busts new high, it really accelerates, there's big stacks behind it, and then it just almost as quickly dies out, you know? And so it's like the market gets squeezed out, and whoever was squeezing it, you know, gets his offers filled, and then he pulls the bid, and there's nothing to support it, you know? I'd say it's a pretty classic. And, I'm always, of course, you will always see a big bid, big, strong bid in a situation like that when there's a strong move. But the later on in the session that I see big bids and offers, the more suspicious of them I tend to be. And so, that big order showing up at 04 was part of the reason why I was looking so vigilantly up in this area at 06 for an exit. There's still, this is exactly where I got out at. So it hasn't, as of yet, proven to me that I should have held it, right? In fact, that we pulled back and then came back up to here, that's, I try and avoid those. So I'd still say I got a good exit. Okay, there's 06 half. Not a strong bid, but they might do it. They might tag 07. 07 was the high before, though, right? Yes, it was. Yeah, they still having problems. 'Cause still 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 kind of doing the sideways thing here. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes. By the way, this intervention in the yen, it very clearly shifted the S&P 500 around, yeah? So it came in about, let's say, 8:05 my time, 10:05 Eastern time. And you can see how since that time it's just been all up in the S&P 500. Okay. That's a little bit more impressive of a bid that time at 06.5. You gonna prove me wrong here? Go ahead. Make my day. It's only $4 to me. And if there's a stop run, that's always fun, right? Ooh, the 30-year actually poked up there. So that may actually be what drags them. Seeing the 30-year push a little bit harder there could be a harbinger of it's going to pull them up. Okay, there's a decent amount of flow trading at 07 now. So I think they probably are going to breach that high. In other words, I could have gotten the $30. I would have had to wait the whole time. If it keeps going after this, I need to tell myself that I don't care because I'm not going to take a trade during work hours. That's just always a mess. What was it? Yeah, it was. I think it was a good, we had fun. Akshay is getting married, showed us pictures, and we had good discussion at the beginning about a bunch of different potential flows and learned a couple of things. That was a really good day. And then I made $26. Yeah, it's a really good day. Japanese yen is kind of turning back up a little bit here. I'm going to say they didn't breach it before my session ended, but it looks like they're going to, right? Here's probably here in a second, we'll see an order trade at, there you go, 07.5. So that they did breach that high. Is there a way to create a script that would transfer open, high, low, close to Excel in real? Yeah. It's easy. You just have to know how to write to a file. Basically I do that already. Actually, I don't do that. I don't export open, high, low, close. I just export all of the level 2 changes and orders. They ticked back down again. It may be really hard for them to get away from this 06. But so it might take, so if there is further upside, let's say that they get back to the open, might take them a while to do it. But let's see. Maybe the Japanese central bank has gotten more clever, and there's going to be a second move later to really, throw people off. That would definitely, I mean, it's been an hour since that happened, right? But that would really throw a wrench into a lot of things, because it seems to me like a lot of people have been fading those. The issue that I have still, though, is I'm not 100% convinced that, like, these guys that were going short the treasuries are, like, unwinding that now. It seems like it's moves being driven by completely different things. And that kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for them to continue moving up, essentially. So I don't think I can predict very well at this point how far they go. Let's headphones were a little messed up. See, it's like it's holding that bid pretty impressively, but it's still super slow here. So that kind of suggests that there is still a lot of liquidity above us to push through, and that means that the upside might be a little bit capped. And I think that that's probably to some extent what happened here before too, is that like we moved down and then it had been so long that the offers above us had picked up. If the Japanese yen wanted to move the treasuries more, they really should have done it. They should have done it like an hour earlier. If they'd done it an hour earlier, they probably would have really shifted things back around. But whatever. Who am I to criticize? They're the ones that got the big bazooka, right? So, we traded it pretty good today. Hey guys, good stream. Let's change the title. Yentervention returns. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. CPI is going to be big, so I'll see you then. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.